Welcome to the Erin Cruz Show. We have on with us a very special guest. He is running for Assembly District number 20. His name is Joseph Grcar. I can't even pronounce it. It sounds so eloquent. As a matter of fact, that he's a brilliant man. I'm not even going to go into his entire CV. I'm going to let you go to his website. Don't get embarrassed. It's true. I do believe people need to take a look at the candidates. They need to learn about you and others. But really, I want to just give a little bit of an excerpt. Joseph, he likes to call himself Joe from what I see. He is a scientist and a scholar who has worked at some of the most prestigious laboratories in the United States of America. And one can see from looking very closely at his website that he has a lot to say about the current issues, especially Measure 20. Measure 3. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of information you can glean from the issues just by looking at his website. And I say that a couple of times because so often times you go to these websites of candidates and you can't get any information. You can't really understand where individuals are coming from. And there's no secret with Joe. And as a matter of fact, before we go into why he's running and all of this, Joe, you were faced with an incredible situation just the other day, weren't you? I
Yes,
saw
no,
Mercury News. Tell us about that.
now that I look back on it, I'm still getting over it, I think. We were at a festival in the Castro Valley area when a man came up and attacked our booth. And then he attacked or tried to attack my colleague, Rudy Peters, who's running for Congress in the 15th district. Rudy chased him down the alleyway there where the other booths were, and then the man spun around and pulled a knife on Rudy. So I think it was Rudy's military training that kicked in because he was right on top of it. And
Right.
amazed,
Wow.
yeah,
Amazing. I mean, you don't expect that sort of thing. We live in what we see as a polite society, a society where you can go out and speak freely, especially here in the United States of America, and go to these sorts of fairs and share information, something you can't do in other countries.
right, right.
And you exercise those freedoms, those liberties, and you don't expect this sort of thing. I mean, what went through your mind? Was it just surreal?
It was actually, I would say it was surreal because, as you say, you don't expect this, and then there's an odd uh, background of normalcy. Everything happens so quickly, most people don't even respond. And Rudy was after the. I think the perpetrator didn't expect Rudy to react so quickly, and if he
And
had,
become the chaser, right?
yes, and he caught up with him and he spun him around, and I think it was that got people's attention, and then the police eventually showed up and they were able to capture the fellow.
And the
Otherwise, he could
situation
have
was
just
neutralized.
melted into the crowd, and we would never have found him.
Wow, wow. Yeah, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'll share the article. I shared the article on Twitter just a few minutes ago. I know we're pre-recording this for tomorrow. Our show airs tomorrow night. But I think it's so important to talk about safety in our communities.
Hmm.
Anything and everything could happen to you, to me, to
Right,
anyone.
right,
And
right.
it's important we have individuals like yourself and the other congressional candidate who was brave enough to take action at that moment. It's just a
Mhm.
strange day and age here in America. And I'm just so glad to see that you're out there campaigning. You're now here with us. You're not stopping. You're not letting this get in your way at
No,
all.
not at all.
Not at
So
all.
Rudy and I are going to press ahead. We're campaigning together because my district is entirely contained within his.
Oh,
So
that's
we
great.
team up in this part of Alameda County.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So you're pairing up and working with the constituency there. You
Yes.
know, the voters are faced with some tough choices this election cycle, and I think that it's good that we have fresh blood, so to speak. Clear minds that have perspective, real world problem solvers, and that's what you are. I read in your website you're still writing articles and helping solve some of today's problems on a different level, of course. But
Yeah, mathematical problems. If that's an important, I don't know if that's so important, but yeah, mathematics is my background.
right,
But no, I wanted to run just to kind of figure out how the system really works. You
right.
often hear that, oh, it's the swamp or it's the money in politics, but until you actually experience it, of course, you've been a candidate, so you know some of that. But
Right.
I think the average voter, never really encounters exactly how the whole system works.
It's quite
Uh,
comprehensive.
Pardon? Yeah,
It's a very large process in entirety from deciding to run all the way up until where you are.
yeah.
It's quite a lot to take in.
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize that essentially there's a huge amount of money sloshing around in politics, particularly in California, where the districts are so large. A state Senate district is bigger than a congressional district here.
Right.
And even an assembly district, mine is 400,000 people, which is enormous.
Right. It's a very large area.
Yeah. And what the incumbents do is I've looked at this now. The numbers are available online, but it takes a lot of analysis to distill it down and find out what's really going on. My opponent collects 90% of his $600,000 every election from PACs. Some of these are labor union PACs, and others are big business PACs, and they're all located outside of his district. From the district, he only gets about $30,000 in donations from individuals, and then another 30,000 from outside the district individuals. And my question is really, where does the money go? I mean, what in the world do you do with $500,000 in this district? I never see him campaigning. There are no lawn signs out. You can't spend $500,000 on lawn signs. They're only $1 a piece in quantity. So I just can't understand, where does the money really go? It's just
Well,
amazing.
it is amazing, and I'm not sure which kind of packs you're talking about, but in many cases, these packs spend money on people, for people. They
California
don't
State,
actually hand them money, but they're spending these funds on advertisements or different kinds of materials, spreading the word about people, and this big money you're talking about with the pack.
well, I beg to differ you right there. Okay, California State Council of Laborers, California State Council of Service Employees, that's two labor unions, but also Calpine, which is a big fossil fuel energy company, Edison International, another
So they
one.
contributed directly to him.
They contributed to him, yes. In this cycle, each one of those agent groups donated the max, which would be
Right.
$8,800.
Right.
And
I don't see
where
why it's not. I don't see why it's not capped at an individual rate. I
Well, I
mean,
don't see what the money is there for in the first place. That's it. I mean, you simply can't spend that much money to actually advertise. There is no advertising here because we're part of a huge metropolitan television area. So if you were to advertise on one of the major networks, it would be not cost effective because you'd broadcast over the entire San Francisco Bay.
right.
So he can't do that kind of advertising.
Hmm.
I have yet to see any lawn signs out. So I don't know,
Interesting.
where does the $500,000 go? And it's the same way with the state senator Wikowski, who's running in this area. He collects even more money, being a state senator, and a lot of it comes from these um,
Big
special
interest,
interest groups.
special interest. Yeah.
I have no problem with the labor unions or the companies. They're allowed to make the contribution. But my question is, what does the incumbent need that amount of money for? And of course, a person like myself, I have no chance of raising any of that money because none of these big organizations would risk contributing money to a challenger. The incumbents
Right.
are really protected. It's kind of an insurance that they have. They could spend the money against me, but they don't really have to because they
But they don't
know.
want to because they don't want to get your name out there. That's
That's
part of it.
exactly right. Right.
It's tactical. It's definitely strategic. So now, getting down to the issues, because that's really, I'm finding, with this information age, with the internet, with the ability for people to find out and Google who you are, what you want to do, or what you'd like to do. Now I'm seeing that people who are maybe don't associate with the progressive left ideologies are coming and they're starting to think for themselves, these people aren't serving me and what I want, my interests. They're not working for the people. They're not working for families and hardworking individuals. Get rid of the D and the R. I think that the people want to say, who's going to do the job? Who's going to listen to what I have to say? So for those individuals who are coming to you saying, hey, Joe, what is it that you'd like to do, different and better?
Okay, well, I'll tell you one thing that my opponent won't do different. Okay, he votes 98% of the time with the Speaker of the House in the State Assembly. And the reason he does so is either he's lazy or he doesn't want to jeopardize that $500,000 in contributions, because you can believe that the labor unions and the big corporations are not going to want to disturb the state party, which is where the real power is.
Right.
So as long as he does the party line, even if it's bad for the people in our district, he'll go that way. And the prime example, for example, is the gas tax behind me.
Right.
This is a working district. Everybody here commutes to work. They put lots of miles on their car. And this guy votes to raise the gas tax.
Taking food off of people's tables.
Yes, $800 or $779 is what they estimate. And I believe those numbers because I've already paid vehicle registration fees, which increased as well. And on my 20-year-old Toyota, it went up from $75 to about $250. So that's a big chunk of money that you don't expect to pay. Similarly, the incumbent goes along with the party line to put Regional Measure 3 on the ballot to raise the bridge tolls. Now, you maybe don't know what Regional Measure 3 is. It raised all the bridge tolls in the Bay Area. And coming from a working class district like mine...
That's an in-between, right? People travel through your district.
Yes, everybody travels through our... Well, that's another issue. But people in our district cross the bridges every day to go to work on the peninsula.
Again, working people who are affected by this gas tax and have to get out of their own community.
That's right. And the bridge tolls even add more because $8 a day to cross the bridge, that works out to $2,000 a year. And the median family income in the Hayward School District is $60,000 a year. That is really tough to get by on in this area. So right there, the assemblyman I'm running against took $2,000 out of the typical family's pocket. I don't understand what they're doing.
Not serving the people, that's for sure.
No, they're not.
Because even when you get people coming into your district to deliver food or groceries or other surplus, type needs to these, markets and everything, it's going to drive their costs up as well.
Right. It raised the cost
of everything.
Diesel, which is what the delivery trucks run on, and that really hurts as far as the grocery stores and the other retail establishments are concerned. But these are just two examples where this guy casually votes the party line and doesn't really think about what it's going to do to the people in his district. And the reason he votes the party line 98% of the time, I figured it out, you have to work hard to get those numbers, is because he wants to keep that $500,000 of slush money that he gets from big corporations and big labor unions. And, honestly, the labor unions, I can't really see that they're getting their nickel out of it because most of the legislation doesn't really affect the working person anyway. It's all this, or positively, it affects them negatively.
Right.
And
Well, it sounds like, he's, the incumbent isn't serving the people. He's not really looking at the issues. He's looking at the party line. And I think that the people, I don't know about in your, your potential constituents. I mean, what is the feedback there? Are they fed up? Are they excited to see that there's another option?
Well, most of them don't even know who he is. I mean, Some of them have heard about the incumbent congressman because he gets a lot of press on
Mm.
CNN and MSNBC. He's running for president now. But the assembly level fellow, they don't even know. They don't even know his name. If I mention it, they say who. You know, it's not
Right.
his. The main thing that he did. So this is the way it works for the main party in this state. You have to demonstrate some party allegiance, and then you get designated as a endorsed candidate, and that's the road to success. So while my opponent was a city councilman, he put through zoning to allow a power plant on the Hayward shoreline.
I saw
And
that.
pardon?
I saw that, and it's not
Yes,
pretty.
that's right. And you can see now who's donating to him. Calpine, who built the power plant, and every power plant builder in the state gives the full amount to my opponent. He built that power plant, and it does absolutely nothing for this district.
Hmm.
The property taxes are minimal, and they just get, I think, 4 million a year, and that gets folded into the usual property taxes that go to Sacramento, and then some fraction of it comes back to the local area. So we get a power plant, which, by the way, replaced one that was taken out of San Francisco so they could build the new Warriors arena there. So here we have
Which I'm sure is beautiful.
oh yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, it's right on
Property
the
values won't suffer as a result of that.
and you won't see the power plant that used to be there anymore because they took it down and they moved it to Hayward. So Hayward gets a power plant, and San Francisco gets the Warriors. And you have to look at the entire East Bay. Who is running this place? When I moved here almost 40 years ago, the Oakland area had three major teams, or they developed them over that period. They had the Athletics, they had the Raiders, and then the Warriors came along. And of those three teams, two are gone, the Warriors and the Raiders. And chances are we're going to lose the Athletics because they want to have a new stadium. And, well, frankly, we can't afford to do it. So how stupid can they be, the people who are running this county? But as long as they keep getting that money from the big PACs, the corporations and the big unions, they're happy and they'll get reelected.
Right.
And it's just terrible.
And they're not serving the people. And,
No,
and I
no.
even was reading about where they took some of the tax money and they went and they built a library, which is wonderful. I'm glad they built a library.
Sure. A one-time
which is wonderful. But, you know, really as it comes down to your district and the constituency there and serving that area, you know, what has it done?
nothing. The problem, unless you live in the Bay Area, you don't understand the peculiar problem that we have here, which is on the peninsula. That is easily the wealthiest part of the United States, with the possible exception of Manhattan. So you have enormous wealth over there. Nobody can afford to live there. I think in San Mateo County, something like only 20% of the policemen who can actually afford to live there.
Right.
So everybody in ordinary jobs has to do this commute every day. And for people where I live in the East Bay, on the shoreline, we're stuck in the middle between this enormous draw and the commute that it produces. So we get the pollution from the commuting, we get the noise, and there's a lot of noise from freeways. We've got a lot of them, and we get absolutely nothing for it. So one of the things that I wanted to push through the legislature or somehow institute would be to say, if they're going to start charging tolls on the freeways, then I want toll money to stay here. I don't understand why.
Why wouldn't the tolls go to the infrastructure that these individuals are passing across, or the communities that they're passing across, and the traffic is impacting?
Exactly right. I mean, we're the guys who suffer through this stuff, and yet the Hayward San Mateo Bridge, I think they're making a profit off of it now of about $100 million a year. And where does that money go? It's going to build BART systems in San Jose. That's the big thing in this area. Do you have rail transit for your commute? and it was never extended to San Jose, and so now that's where the money's going. So this poor district, down on its luck, Hayward, is paying for fancy rail systems in San Jose. It just doesn't make sense.
The money should stay local. I mean,
our school district could use the money. I mean, we have no major industry that would pay taxes and put money.
Well, because the power plant that's built there already doesn't. I mean, it has a massive environmental and other kind of impact, and it has other impacts, obviously. But I mean, in terms of revenues.
Yeah, well, the power plant pays about $4 million in taxes a year, in property taxes, which is next to nothing. The library that you mentioned was a $10 million donation to the local library or the local city to build a library. And that also greased the skids on the power plant. But what does that do? When you got a power plant on your most valuable piece of land, it prevents other people from using it for something better. So on the other side of the bridges, we have the headquarters of the Facebook company. There's the headquarters of the Google company. There's a little bit further away is the headquarters of Apple, where they pay employees starting salaries of $250,000 a year. Why can't those companies move to Hayward instead? It would save a commute. Okay, well, they're not going to move to Hayward if you've got a power plant in the middle of your most valuable.
Same reason why they decided to move the power plant from one community to your community.
Exactly.
It's a really difficult spot to be in, but what it's good to hear is that you're not afraid to address the issues and to work with the constituents to figure out what some solutions will be. Because that's, I think, where the public needs to wake up is our elected work for us.
Yes.
To get the job done and to serve the populace.
Let me put my hat on.
What does it say?
Southern Alameda County first.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. That's
This
fabulous.
is the only hat of this kind in the entire country because nobody thinks of Southern Alameda County.
Right.
When the big, powerful politicians even set foot down here, it's because they're driving through. They're driving through to get to our freeways or our bridges to go to the airport or to go to work. And I want the money and I want the jobs to come here instead of
them to stay. Well, I think you want some of the money that's being spent as they go across to stay there, and to be able to attract other businesses to your community. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it sounds like you have some ideas to make that happen.
Yes.
Now, where can people find out more about your campaign, Joe?
Well, the best place to do is to start on my website, which is Joseph Grcar or joegrcar.com. And from there, you have links to my Twitter feed as well. But as you mentioned at the outset, I actually wrote some pretty lengthy position papers that are posted there. It's not a fancy website. I just do the
We don't need frills. We need facts. And we need ideas and solutions.
Old-fashioned HTML. That's what you've got there.
Yes. Okay, good. Well, thank you so much for coming on the Erin Cruz Show with us and speaking with us and sharing about your campaign. Everybody go to his website, find out more information about him, donate, get involved, especially if you live there. But you don't have to live there in order to contribute to his campaign and help him spread the good word. So take a look, and if you feel inclined, time, talent, treasure, Joe is your man.
That's great. Thank you, Erin. Thank you so much.
You take care, and you let us know if you need anything.
Okay, great. Thank you, Erin.
To hear more and to learn more on how you can make an impact or about the Erin Cruz Show, visit us online at erincruz.com. That's ERINCRUZ.com.